Welcome to the Books on Air podcast. I'm Suzanne Harris, and my listeners get the secret story behind every book. Joining me today is someone I cannot wait to introduce you to. Her name is Julianne McLean, and she's here to talk about the BBQ Cookbook that she co-authored with award-winning cartoonist and chef Mark Lynch. Now, the name of the cookbook is BARBIES, the number 4 for BLOKES. Julianne, welcome.
Oh, Suzanne, thank you so much for having me on board. It's a delight. And I hope your listeners enjoy what we have to say, but also take on board a little message that's important.
That's the thing about what we're going to talk about. The cookbook it's wonderful. There are terrific recipes. The cartoons that Mark has done in there are just so on point. You and Mark are so phenomenal. You've both done so many amazing and astonishing things. I couldn't possibly read your bio. I was just struck when I read both of your bios. And so it made me think of something. I was curious, how did this collaboration come about? Because you guys have written more than one book together.
Yeah, Mark's got about 16, and we've collaborated on 4. And the story to this book that I'll share, many years ago, we were both with Qantas as flight attendants. Mark was the editorial cartoonist for our greatest paper, The Australian. But flying, he used to do the cartoons in breaks on the aircraft and then fax them through to the paper. So he was very industrious and very, very popular. But we met in Bombay. We'd never met before. And we were sitting around in this oasis in Bombay, and Bombay's a pretty hard-to-cop place. It's tough. So we had an oasis there, and we're sitting around overdosed with vegetarian food, but there are vegetarian recipes in the book, and chatting. And I said, should be a barbecue book for blokes. So by the time we got back to Sydney, we had 3 cartoons, 2 recipes, and 2 more team members to help us. So that's how it happened.
That's amazing. I mean, the recipes in the book, you got recipes from all kinds of celebrities. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. How were you able to pull all of this together?
Well, I did the hard yakka. Mark is the brilliant one. I'm the worker. So I had to contact, and there were many, many people I contacted, and including some of your fabulous people from the United States. They contributed as well. But just a little funny story. One of our contributors, Jamie Jury, who has been on Oprah, I cornered him in the local supermarket. And I thought, opportunity. I don't have to go through an agent. I cornered him in the washing powder section of Woolworths. And I said, Jamie, I've been writing to you. You haven't answered. This was a bluff. He backtracked, didn't know what I was talking to, went straight into saying, can you help me with something for mental health? And he looked blankly in front of 10 people in the checkout line and said, sure. And that's how I got Jamie. And all the people, actually, how I looked at people is what do they contribute to society? They must have a sense of humour. And I must establish that this book, after 2.5 years' work, mind you, is for a very, very good cause. And the people you see in this book are all people that have done wonderful things. You actually see, I think, 3 Qantas stewards, I don't mention their Qantas, who do things. They were Vietnam vets, they were first responders. They've done so much for society, but one of the things too, a lot of people in the book are first responders. We have one death in Australia would be much more, one suicide per week from our first responders. And think about who our first responders are. This is serious, and we'll get back to the fun. They're your GPs. They're, in my case, very fondly, the Qantas people that went into Wuhan when there was no vaccination to get people out. They volunteered to set up a close contact team to have to say to people, you've tested positive, and handle that. This is almost pre-vaccination, so that was pretty scary. I'd just like to say to people, recognise who the people are that really give back to society, and ask management at big companies to take into account who are your first responders and who do you have to show care for.
And one of the reasons that you're really talking about this is because you guys are donating all of the proceeds from the sales of Barbies for Blokes to Black Dog Institute. Now, tell me a little bit about Black Dog Institute.
Well, Black Dog Institute is one of, if not the best, research. I'm very proud of them. Mental health research. They've done a white paper on suicide, which might be mitigated. People in the US, you are benefiting from the research that they're doing. And I'm bipolar. So I'm hoping that my grandchildren will not have to have a little bit of the torrid and suffering that I've been through. We're all through that now. I'm having a wonderful life because there's so much happening in mental health research, getting rid of drugs and medications and doing non-invasive work with the brain to better people's mental health. It's so exciting, Suzanne.
You know, when I read that, that's what you were doing, I thought we really have to mention this, because when I look at this cookbook, the cover is adorable. It's so funny, and Mark is so clever. And I thought how very appropriate it was that this cookbook has humor at its core, and you're using that as a way to support a major mental health organization. And I just thought that was so appropriate, because humor is so powerful and helps us deal with so much, and we're all dealing with so much.
Yeah, we are, and I think we've got to sit back and have a little laugh and be grateful. Be grateful for what we've got, and mental health is so important, and one of the keys is laughter. I've learned that at one of your universities. Well, I'll say it. Harvard, brilliant, caring university to go to. And very grateful that I was able to go there.
Now, one more thing that you wanted to say about the book, I know, is it's dedicated to a gentleman by the name of Mark Sanguinetti. And I know that he passed away last year. Why did you dedicate the book to him?
Well, he was my best friend, Suzanne, and very supportive of me. I could be anything I wanted. I could be up, down, wherever he was there. And it was a great loss for me personally, and a great loss to his young daughters. And it was such a tragedy. Mark was a great surfer. And he went up the coast on a holiday. His last words to me were, "I'm only a phone call away." And he was taken by a shark while saving other people.
Oh, dear. And I know you made light of that in the tribute. You said, I know you when you sent me a note, you said, this may affect U.S. tourism. I understand you Yanks are not particularly fond of sharks. And that there's no recipe for shark fin soup. So you made light of it, and I thought that was so appropriate.
Well, again, humour. Best way to grieve is to find the fun in it, briefly. And people that what I've learned at Harvard, is the best antidote for depression and mitigating the depression that comes with grieving is humour. Find something funny and cling to it.
Let's talk about what's in the book. Now,
oh, yeah, we've forgotten the book.
No, trust me, I haven't forgotten the book. Give me the sort of chapter headings that are in the book, because I want them to realize that this is not just, quote, a barbecue cookbook, and it doesn't just have steak recipes. There is a lot. There is a lot in there, and it's so different.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about, I loved it before we started taping. You said this would be an exotic gift for someone in the United States, and I could not agree with you more. I think it's just terrific.
Something different.
Yeah. So give me an overview of what's there, Julianne.
Okay. We have celebrities that have Orders of Australia who've donated their time and their recipes. We have parliamentarians. We have New York Times journalists. We have, and I cheated in a little way, a lot of our Australian mafia are Hollywood superstars that have all done great things. Their quotes and their favourite foods. We have international air chefs and chefs who've given hints on how to make your barbecue better. It has an international focus. It's not just Australian, but we have wonderful people who've all given back and want to participate with humour as well to the fabric of society worldwide. The recipes are great. They're simple. The whole idea is Barbies for blokes, but a lot of my girlfriends use the recipes, so we're not being sexist here.
It's just a very clever title. I mean, it's just a very clever title. You also have some seafood recipes in there. I am not a seafood griller, so I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yes. It's very Australian for seafood because we have an abundance of water around us.
You are. Yes.
And seafood is very simple, and you can make it so delicious with sauces. We've got lobster, Jamie Jury's, Mark's oysters. Just throw oysters in shell on the barbecue. How simple is that? They'll open, and I love Worcestershire sauce. So simple. I don't know if you've all thought of that, but that's the idea. Produce that is simple to cook. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to find it. Don't look in the book, Julianne. I should know it off by heart.
No, you should not. No, you should not.
I emphasise seafood because it's very good, and lobster. As I said, mussels. Oh, my best girlfriend's got an Order of Australia, and her favourite. I'm very proud of her. Her favourite is sardines. So she whipped up a recipe for sardines that you can do on the barbie. It's very eclectic what you can do with seafood. But we also have a lot of recipes for vegetarians that are delicious. The first world champion surfer was Australian, Midget Farrelly, and his wife, R.I.P., and his wife put together a recipe that he would like. He was a very staunch vegetarian. So we have a lot of vegetarian recipes. Meat lovers, great. Lots of different ways to do that. We have recipes from Calabria. We have recipes from Africa. And they're all simple, Suzanne. I could go on, but then I'd be giving the book away, wouldn't I?
Exactly. And let's share. I know that there's a part of the book that you did want to share with the listeners. So let's do that now.
Okay. Well, let's be funny first.
Okay.
Let's be funny first. I'm just finding. Oh, by the way, do you have Bondi Rescue syndicated in the States? I think you do, about Australian life-saving. It says It's a fun doco. You may not have it, but they've donated their time and their recipes. So thanks to Lifesavers in Australia. Bless you.
And there's a great picture of them in the cookbook.
Yeah. And a couple of them are heartthrobs, let me tell you.
They are, I noticed.
Okay, I'm going to read what Mark and I wrote. This is fun. I love how the men stand around cooking the Barbie while the women have done all the work beforehand, doing the marinade and making the salads. And then everybody says, what a great Barbie, to the guy cooking. A barbecue is just the ultimate bloke's pastime, isn't it? Let's face it, men like to barbecue because men are attracted to cooking where danger is involved. In this eclectic assortment of barbecue recipes by some Australian and American favourite celebs, there's something for everyone. A bloke's ultimate B&B guide, barbecue and beer. Every conceivable, mouth-watering favourite is here, plus a few surprises. Just add friends. And speaking of friends, all of the profits from the sales, including all my work, I'm not charging for my time, goes to the Black Dog Institute, a proudly independent, not-for-profit medical research institute for the treatment of mental health. May the fork be with you.
I love it.
You love it?
Yes, I do. I love it.
I must credit Mark with, I did most of the writing, but I thought to read his stuff because I'm just so blessed to work with him.
Now, he's a chef. So did he contribute?
Well, he had a restaurant. Yes, his barbecue oysters and a couple of others. But what I wanted to say about Mark is he has 56 international awards. You can see Mark's cartoon in Woman's World, Washington Post, Paris Match. He is seen by 17 million people in the German subway stations per day. So he is one world-class act, this guy. And I've never, ever seen a cartoonist with so much wit and talent. So just for Mark, get the book.
Oh, yes. Just to get Mark's cartoons, get the book. Because they are so funny and so right on point.
And just think, I hate to say this is my humour, black humour. If he passes, you'll be able to sell the book for a much higher value because it's a work of art.
You're absolutely right. It is. So I know that our listeners are saying, okay, where can I find the book? So Amazon. Go to Amazon.
Amazon? Yeah. You can Google it. I think you can find our website, which is Barbies, 4, Blokes. And you get a great rate there. So I tried them first. Otherwise, any of the online bookstores will have it.
If they go to Amazon and they put in Barbies, and it's BARBIES.
BAR, yeah.
The number 4.
Sorry, I'll say it for you.
And then BLOKES by Julianne, and let me spell it, JULIANNE, McLean, MCLEAN, and Mark, MARK, Lynch, LYNCH. If you put that in the search feature there on Amazon and just click on it, the book comes right up, and you will see the cutest cover. It's black. It's got these. It's got a cartoon on the front. I mean, right away you will be pulled into the book. You can buy it right there on the page at Amazon, or you can go to the website. Now, tell me about the website, Julianne. Give me the address, and then tell me what we'll find there.
Okay. I don't need to spell it because you've done all the spelling for me. Thank you.
My pleasure.
barbiesforblokes.com. It's a great website. I think you can have a little look. If it's still there, it's a flip book, and you can see 2 or 3 of the pages, and it tells you all about it. A lot of a lot of it will be reiterating what you and I have said, Suzanne.
And they will probably get a better price on the book if they go to your website, right?
Yeah, well, they'll definitely get the recommended retail price that I insisted on, so that you get good value for money, because our readers, I have to be loyal to them.
You know, we've talked about so many things, and the cookbook is exactly what we've said. It's a compilation of simple, wonderful, interesting recipes, humor with Mark's cartoons that are so much fun and funny. And at the same time, we've given a serious message about mental health, and that all of the proceeds will be donated to the Black Dog Institute. And I wonder, when our listeners become readers and they pick up a copy of the cookbook, this is probably not something they'll sit down and read cover to cover. It's probably something they'll sit down and look through and pick out recipes to try, and I think I like this and I think I like that. But once they go through the cookbook, once they realize that the proceeds are going to a mental health organization, is there something that you want them to know that we haven't talked about, Julianne?
I think we've done very well. There's so many people I have to think, but I'd just like to say this, I don't know if I already said it, mental illness is increasing. In the states where you live, the lifetime prevalence of mental illness is 50% of your population. With COVID, it's going to go way up, even in children who've been very stressed. So think about that too and help the cause. The number of people in Australia that, on average, 58 Australians take their lives each week. I'm not sure of the US states. I have studied it there, but marginal communities like the LGBTI community and our native Australians are 3 times likely to suicide than the general population. And the rates of seeking help, particularly amongst men, are low. So that's kind of what inspired me this time to maintain Barbies for Blokes. Men, have a chat round the barbecue. Let everybody know your problems, because we all have them. There's no such thing as normal.
You're absolutely right.
And our first responders, like your fireys, like your flight attendants, your GPs, my God, those brave hospital workers, we have first responders committing suicide once a week. In Qantas, my beloved airline, 15% have had suicidal thoughts and have sought medical attention. So please, airlines, those that run big organisations, put your social capital before the dollar. That's my little political thing. It's not really political, but it's really important to me.
I know. I can hear the passion in your voice, and I've heard the passion when you and I spoke before we even started to record. This has just been a pleasure to talk with you. You are so amazing. You've done so many amazing things, and this book, Barbies for Blokes, is just so much fun with a really big heart at its center. You're doing such good work, Julianne. Thank you, and thank Mark for me for allowing us to talk about your book and to talk to you on Books on Air.
And thank you. I hope your wonderful audience will support us all, and more than that, laugh their heads off.
Me too. Remember, you can find Barbies, BARBIES, the number 4, Blokes, BLOKES, by Julianne, JULIANNE, McLean, MCLEAN, and Mark Lynch on Amazon. You've been listening to the Books on Air podcast, brought to you on webtalkradio.net. You can also hear this podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Suzanne Harris, and I hope you'll join me for the next Books on Air podcast, because remember, you never know who we're going to talk to, and you never know what we're going to talk about. So thank you so very much for listening.